a crash and a chase there. That person was taken into custody. According to witnesses here, they don't think that person was targeted. It was just a random shooting. And here's what one witness said happened.
Key Glock just sent a loud message to Yo Gotti, straight up saying he is not welcome in Memphis anymore. And this is not just anyone saying it. This is aimed at Yo Gotti, the same man who built a massive empire worth hundreds of millions from that very city. The same one whose CMG label helped push Memphis into the mainstream spotlight. This situation is serious. What Key Glock did was not some quiet jab or a slick line buried in a random song. He made it clear, out in the open, for everyone to hear, that from PRE's side, Yo Gotti's name does not carry the same weight in Memphis streets anymore. And when Gotti heard about it, his reaction spoke volumes. This is not just rappers talking online for attention. This goes way deeper. This is about control over Memphis itself. This tension traces all the way back to a deal gone wrong in 2014. Since then, it has led to real-life consequences. People locked away for life, lives changed forever, and the conflict's still active today. Nothing about this is settled, and here is where it gets even more intense. Some of Gotti's own artists are starting to step back from the situation, creating distance as things heat up. The unity around him is not as solid as it once looked, and cracks are starting to show. The man who once held Memphis in a tight grip for over 10 years is now watching that control slowly slip away. And Key Glock is right there, applying pressure every step of the way. So let's break this all down from the beginning, because this story runs deeper than people think, touching on serious moments, high stakes, and shocking claims that still have people talking. We are talking about courtroom testimonies that revealed things nobody expected to come out. Real details, real moments, and then you got one rapper stepping up and basically saying, enough is enough. This city is ours. That kind of statement hits different when you know what is behind it. To really understand why Key Glock saying Yo Gotti cannot come back to Memphis carries so much weight, you have to rewind everything. Not just a little bit either. Go all the way back to the beginning of how things started building up. Memphis is not like other cities when it comes to hip-hop. Out there, the music scene and real-life street ties have been connected for decades, going back to the 3-6 Mafia era in the 90s. Loyalty is everything in that city. You are either standing with someone or standing against them. There is no middle ground at all. That is exactly why when young Dolph turned down Yo Gotti's deal in 2014, it shook everything up and set off a chain reaction nobody could stop. At that time, Yo Gotti was already running the Memphis rap scene. CMG, originally called Cocaine Music Group before the name got cleaned up for business reasons, was a full operation. He had industry connections, major backing, and a system ready to push artists to the top. So when young Dolph started getting attention from his mixtapes like high-class street music, Gotti saw the potential and wanted him on the team. But Dolph was not going for that. He stood firm and turned it down, and that decision says everything about who he was. Dolph stayed independent, focused on owning his music, his brand, and his business moves. He was not about to hand that over to anyone, no matter how powerful they were in the city. Later on, he locked in a distribution deal with Empire and built Paper Route Empire into a strong, self-sustained label that moved on its own terms. He was proving something major, that you could make it out of Memphis without having to bow down to anybody. In a city where Yo Gotti had positioned himself like the gatekeeper, that kind of move felt bold, almost rebellious. It was not just impressive, it was risky. And that one no changed everything. Because in Memphis, turning down someone powerful is not always seen as just business. In certain circles, it can come off as straight disrespect. And that is exactly how it started to be viewed. You have to remember, Gotti was not just another rapper in the mix. Reports had his net worth sitting around $100 million. CMG had serious industry backing through Interscope, and his roster was stacked with big names like Moneybagg Yo, Black Youngsta, 42 Dugg, ESTG, Glorilla, and Big Boogie. This was a full-on empire in motion. So when Dolph turned him down and then started rising on his own, even competing on the charts, that shifted the energy completely. It was no longer just a missed deal. It started to look like a challenge to everything Gotti had built. For a while, things stayed low-key. A few subtle shots here, a little tension there, but nothing too loud. Then February 2016 hit and everything changed. Dolph jumped on Twitter and started calling out someone without saying their name, talking about how they wanted to sign him, but were now acting different. Everyone already knew who he meant. And then came the moment that really shook things up. Just a week later, Dolph revealed his debut album title, King of Memphis. That title alone sent a message loud and clear, and people felt exactly who it was aimed at. Now, if you know anything about Yo Gotti, then you already know he had been calling himself the King of Memphis for years. That title was part of his identity. And then Dolph came through and took that same title, stamped it on his album, and made it his own. That move had people talking everywhere. The streets reacted instantly. That is when Black Youngsta stepped into the situation, and this is where everything started getting way more serious. The tone shifted fast. Black Youngsta, who was signed to CMG at the time, started going directly at Dolph on Instagram, posting videos that sounded aggressive and full of tension. At one point, he even showed up in Dolph's South Memphis neighborhood, filming clips with his crew, trying to prove a point and send a message. It was loud, it was public, and it caught everyone's attention. Dolph did not match that energy in a dramatic way. Instead, he brushed it off online with a laughing emoji and a thumbs down, acting like it was not worth his time. But behind the scenes, people knew this was not something small. When someone connected to a rival camp shows up in your area making bold statements on camera, that raises the stakes immediately. And it did not end there. Black Youngsta dropped a diss track called Shake Some, and he was not being subtle at all. The lyrics came off intense, questioning Dolph's place in Memphis and throwing direct shots his way. It felt personal, it felt heavy, and it was coming from someone proudly representing CMG, which only added more pressure to the situation. Gotti tried to play it cool publicly. He went on record saying he didn't approve of Youngster's approach, but Dolph wasn't buying it. He called Gotti out on Instagram saying the whole thing was orchestrated from the top. And honestly, looking back at everything that happened after, it's hard to argue with Dolph on that one. Now here's where the beef went from. Rap beef to something way more serious, way more deadly. February 2017. Dolph drops a track called Play With Yo Bitch, and this ain't subliminal at all. He's naming Gotti directly, calling him Ho Gotti. The cover art, a screenshot of what appeared to be Gotti's baby mama calling dude's phone. This man was poking the bear with a stick, y'all. And the response, it wasn't just a diss track. Back on February 25th, 2017, young Dolph was in Charlotte, North Carolina when his SUV got shot up. And I don't mean a couple bullets. I mean over 100 rounds were fired into his vehicle, 100. The whole thing was caught on surveillance. The van involved in the shooting was later traced back to a rental under Black Youngster's name. Think about that for a second. The van used in the shooting on Dolph was rented by an artist signed to Yo Gotti's label. That's not speculation. That's a fact that came out during the investigation. But here's the crazy part. Dolph survived that situation, and there is a reason for it. He was moving around in a bulletproof truck. That was not luck. That was preparation. He saw the risks ahead and made sure he was protected. And what did Dolph do after surviving something that serious? He turned it into music almost immediately. Just over a month later, he dropped a project called Bulletproof. That kind of response showed exactly what type of mindset he had. Fearless, bold, and not backing down for anything. He even released a track called 100 Shots, flipping the whole situation into a statement through his music. That was the kind of energy Dolph carried. Depending on how you looked at it, it was either powerful or intense, but nobody could ignore it. Then things escalated again in September 2017. Dolph was involved in another shooting, this time out in Hollywood, right outside a hotel. Multiple gunshot wounds, rushed to the hospital in critical condition. It was serious. Early reports from TMZ mentioned Yo Gotti as a person of interest, which immediately had people talking. Later on, law enforcement clarified that Gotti himself was not a suspect. However, an associate named Corey McClendon was taken into custody in connection to the situation. McClendon was released without charges after a short time, but public opinion had already started forming. People were drawing their own conclusions, whether confirmed or not. Through all of this, Dolph survived again. 2 major incidents in 1 year, and he was still moving forward, still making music, and still standing on his claim as King of Memphis. And through all of this, Key Glock, young Dolph's cousin, his protege, his right hand, was watching everything closely. taking it all in, learning every move, and building his own path right next to Dolph under Paper Route Empire. Now let's really break down who Key Glock is, because his background adds a whole different layer to this story. Markevius Cathy, that is his real name, was born in South Memphis in 1997. From the very beginning, life was not easy for him. His mother went to prison when he was just 20 months old. Think about that for a second. He was still a baby. She ended up serving a long sentence, and his father was not consistently around either. Because of that, Glock was raised by his grandmother and his aunt, and that family connection is what led him to his cousin, young Dolph. That relationship would end up shaping everything. But here is what really stands out about Glock. Even though he and Dolph were close, family gatherings, spending time together, all of that, Glock never leaned on Dolph's success to carry him. He moved with pride and kept his own grind going strong. At the same time, Dolph recognized that drive. He saw the work Glock was putting in and decided to bring him into Paper Route Empire. From that moment, the bond grew into more than just family. It became mentorship, business, and music all combined. And once Glock stepped into the spotlight, he did not waste the opportunity. His project Glock Season in 2017 started getting real attention. Then came the joint work with Dolph, especially Dumb and Dumber in 2019, which had fans locked in heavy. They even took things international, performing across Europe and connecting with artists like Blade Brown in cities like Manchester and London. The movement was growing fast, and Glock was right there, building his name step by step. They kept dropping hit after hit. Yellow Tape in 2020 came through strong, landing at number 14 on the Billboard 200 and later going gold. Then, Yellow Tape 2 in 2021 pushed things even further, climbing up to number 7. And the single Ambition for Cash took off like crazy, going multi-platinum. His mixtape Son of a Gun made even more noise, and what made it stand out? 0 features at all. That became his signature move. No guest verses, no big name assists, just Key Glock holding it down by himself. He was turning into a star on his own terms, doing everything the Paper Route way. Independent, real, and rooted in that raw Memphis sound. That is what separated him from a lot of artists coming up at the same time. Glock's influences ran deep too. He grew up listening to legends like 3 6 Mafia, Project Pat, Gucci Mane, and Lil Wayne. He even said Project Pat was like the Drake of Memphis, and that track Gorilla Pimp had a huge impact on him. The chorus alone helped inspire one of his early records. So when Glock stepped in the booth, it was more than just rap. He was pulling from the whole Memphis legacy and putting that energy into his music. And Dolph saw that from the start. He recognized Glock had something real. But while all this success was building, the tension between CMG and PRE never fully went away. It stayed in the background, quiet but heavy. Black Youngster kept releasing subtle shots. Rumors started spreading about who could go where, and the pressure kept building. The situation was serious, and through all of it, Key Glock stayed solid and never backed off. When Black Youngster dropped I Met Tay Keith First, people caught the message right away. It felt like a subtle shot at Glock, especially since Glock and Tay Keith had history going back to high school. Glock did not stay quiet either. He jumped straight into the comments calling it cap. That showed exactly where he stood. He stayed 10 toes down for PRE through everything. And then came the moment that changed it all forever. November 17th, 2021. Young Dolph, the same man who survived multiple attacks, who kept pushing forward no matter what, walked into Makita's homemade butter cookies in Memphis. It was supposed to be a normal stop before his annual Thanksgiving turkey giveaway, but everything shifted in seconds. 2 individuals came in and opened fire. Dolph was hit multiple times and passed away right there in broad daylight in his own city. The news spread fast and it hit people hard everywhere. When Key Glock found out, he was on Instagram Live. Viewers watched the moment it reached him. He went quiet, stopped speaking, and ended the stream. After that, he disappeared from social media, deleted his Instagram, and stepped away from everything. The loss hit deep. This was not just music. This was family, his cousin, his mentor, someone who stood by him and helped shape his path. Later, images came out from a celebration of life event, and you could see the weight on Glock's face. The grief was heavy, and it showed without him saying a word. And it did not stop there. Around that same time, he was dealing with multiple personal losses in his family. His father, his aunt, his grandmother. It was a lot for anyone to carry. Moments like that can change a person. Pain like that does not just disappear. It shifts, it builds, and sometimes it turns into something much bigger. Pain like that can shift everything. It can turn into motivation, or it can turn into anger. And for Key Glock, it looked like it became both at the same time. This is where people really started putting pieces together, and what came out had a lot of people shocked. The two individuals responsible were identified as Cornelius Smith and Justin Johnson, also known in music as Straight Drop. Both were arrested, and the case quickly gained attention. In 2024, Justin Johnson was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. That answered part of the situation, but the bigger question still had people talking. Who was behind it all? That is when Hernandez Govan entered the picture. Prosecutors charged him with first-degree murder and conspiracy, claiming he played a key role in organizing everything. And once the trial started, the details being shared caught everyone off guard. Cornelius Smith took the stand and gave testimony that raised serious allegations. He claimed that Anthony Big Jook Mims, Yo Gotti's brother, had put out monetary bounties on multiple members. Specific amounts were mentioned during testimony, which made the situation sound even more intense. According to prosecutors, this was not just a personal feud, it was presented as something much more organized. They described how Govan allegedly connected people involved and shared information about Dolph's schedule in Memphis around the time of the Thanksgiving giveaway. All of these claims were laid out in court, adding more layers to a case that was already heavy, and leaving people debating what was really going on behind the scenes. Prosecutors also claimed there were connections through phone records, showing multiple calls between Govan, Smith, Johnson, and Big Jook leading up to and even on the day everything happened. They argued it pointed toward a coordinated plan, something organized and carefully set up. But then came a twist that caught a lot of people off guard. After only a few hours of deliberation, the jury reached a decision. In August 2025, Hernandez Govan was found not guilty on all charges. Not guilty of first-degree murder, not guilty of conspiracy, completely acquitted. He walked out a free man, and that outcome immediately had people reacting. His defense team pushed back hard during the trial. They described Smith as unreliable, arguing he had reasons to say anything that might help his own situation. They also pointed out that the phone records alone did not directly prove involvement, and there was no physical evidence linking Govan to the crime. The jury ultimately agreed with that argument, and once the verdict was announced, the response online was instant. Key Glock went to social media and posted a message that hit hard. He wrote, "My city failed, but what's new?" and then quickly deleted it. But by then, it was already everywhere. You could feel the frustration through that short message. Reports described Dolph's family as heartbroken after the verdict, dealing with a wave of emotions. Even those involved in the case acknowledged how heavy that moment was for them. And that right there became a turning point, because from Glock's point of view, this was personal on every level. Losing someone close and then seeing the outcome play out like that, it added a whole new layer to everything he has been expressing since. The alleged bounties were said to trace back to people connected to a rival label's inner circle, and through all of it, nobody from the CMG side has publicly addressed those claims. No clear statements, no detailed responses, just silence. Yo Gotti himself has never publicly spoken on his brother Big Jook's alleged involvement or responded to the accusations about a supposed hit list. That silence has kept people talking and questioning what really went on behind the scenes. And if you think everything stopped after the trial, that is not the case at all, because something major happened even before a lot of that courtroom testimony came out. January 13th, 2024, a Saturday afternoon. Anthony Big Jook Mims, Yo Gotti's older brother, was at a gathering following a funeral at a restaurant in Memphis. It was supposed to be a normal moment, people coming together, but then everything changed fast. Around 4:15 p.m., gunfire broke out. Big Jook was hit multiple times and later pronounced dead at the hospital. The situation shocked the city immediately. What made it even more intense was the location. It was not far from where Dolph lost his life. Similar setting, similar daytime timing. It had people drawing comparisons right away. Speculation spread quickly online. People started connecting dots, asking questions, wondering if it was retaliation or something else entirely. But none of that has been officially confirmed. Authorities later shared surveillance images of a white Ford Explorer believed to be connected to the incident. But even now, a long time later, no arrests have been announced and no one has been formally charged. And one detail that stood out to many, Big Jook's final Instagram post. It carried a message about staying alert, watching your back, and being aware at all times. After everything that happened, that post hit people in a very different way. That post went up on a Friday, and by Saturday, everything had changed. After Big Jook's passing, the funeral security was on a whole different level. People described it like nothing Memphis had ever seen before. Snipers positioned on rooftops, helicopters circling above, and a massive police presence everywhere. It did not feel like a regular service. It felt intense and heavily controlled. And it did not stop there. When Yo Gotti appeared at the 2025 BET Awards, reports said his security was just as serious. Multiple vehicles, armed protection, everything moving tight and calculated. It gave the impression of someone taking every precaution possible. So now you can see the full picture. The history, the losses, the legal battles, all of it builds up to that one moment. When Key Glock said Yo Gotti was not welcome in Memphis anymore, it was not just random talk. That statement carried the weight of everything that led up to it, because things have shifted. Key Glock is not in that same place he was before. He came back focused and active. He dropped Proud as a tribute to Dolph, and it made its way onto the Billboard Hot 100. Then came more music, projects like Glaucoma 2. And in 2025, he made a major move by partnering with Republic Records. At the same time, he kept Paper Route Empire strong and independent, balancing both sides of the business. He followed that up with a full project, 18 tracks, no features, staying true to his style. It debuted strong on the charts, moved serious numbers in its first week, and pulled in millions of streams right away. Then he hit the road, a 21-city tour, packed venues, sold-out shows across the country. And by early 2026, he was already back working, confirming that his next album was finished and ready to go. Key Glock did not just make it through the tension between CMG and PRE, he came out on top. And more than that, he has been carrying Young Dolph's legacy every single day, making sure it stays alive and respected. He stepped into a bigger role, helping lead Paper Route Empire forward. Through music, community efforts, and the culture itself, Dolph's name continues to be heard and remembered. The Glaucoma era brought a strong sound too, with producers like Tay Keith, DJ Paul from 3-6 Mafia, and King Wonka. The project was packed with that deep Southern energy, heavy bass, real bounce, and a sound rooted in Memphis. Even the title carried meaning. It reflected themes of reinvention, resilience, and pushing against expectations. Glock used his music to express everything: personal loss, real-life experiences, and the pressure that comes with success. In an interview with Wonderland magazine, he kept it simple when talking about his message, saying he was highly respected. Just 2 words, but they hit strong because the music already showed what he meant. By March 2026, he was already back in the studio, previewing unreleased tracks and confirming his next album was finished. No slowing down, no hesitation, he is staying consistent. And at the same time, the message toward Yo Gotti has been clear through all of this. Gotti still has a major empire, a strong label, and big names on his roster. But when it comes to the energy in Memphis, things feel different now. That shift is what makes Gotti's reaction stand out. Even Big Boogie, who is signed to CMG, spoke on it publicly in early 2026. During a conversation with Cam Newton, he made it clear he stays neutral. He said wearing a CMG chain does not mean he is stepping into any conflict. He made it clear he is focused on being a CEO, not stepping into anything extra. He even said if his name is not brought up, he is not speaking on it. That kind of response says a lot. When someone connected to the situation publicly distances themselves like that, people pay attention. So where does that leave Yo Gotti in all of this? The reality is, he has stayed extremely quiet through everything. He has not publicly addressed the claims about his brother Big Jook's alleged involvement. He has not responded to the testimony about the alleged bounty amounts mentioned during the trial. He has not spoken publicly about Big Jook's passing. and he has not engaged with Key Glock or Paper Route Empire in any direct way. That silence stands out. In a place like Memphis, not saying anything can speak just as loudly as making a statement. Some people see it as a calculated move. From a business angle, it makes sense. Why risk saying something that could create more problems when there is already so much at stake? With a major label, partnerships, artists, and investments on the line, staying quiet can look strategic. But at the same time, culture and perception play a big role. On a street level, silence can be interpreted in different ways. Some might see it as avoiding conflict, while others might question it or read deeper into it. And that is where things get complicated. When Key Glock makes a bold statement publicly, saying someone is not welcome in the very city tied to their success, and there is no response, it does not go unnoticed. People are watching closely, conversations keep building, opinions keep forming, and the situation continues to carry weight far beyond just music. Yo Gotti built his image around being the king of Memphis. He built CMG from the ground up in that city and used Memphis as the foundation for everything he has today. And now, the next voice coming from his biggest rival's side is stepping up and saying he is not welcome back. That shift alone has people talking heavy. And what makes it stand out even more, Gotti, the same figure known for having influence, resources, and a strong presence, has not responded publicly at all. No statements, no back and forth, just silence while everything unfolds. Meanwhile, Key Glock is moving in a completely different direction. He is active, touring, dropping music, and continuing to build his name. His career is growing while all this tension still sits in the background. There was even a situation in 2025 at Governor's Ball in New York where members of his crew were reportedly detained over possession issues. Regardless of how people view that, it highlights how serious security and awareness are around him. When someone believes there have been threats against them, it can change how they move day to day. Now step back and look at the bigger picture. This is not just about two artists going back and forth. This is about Memphis as a whole. This is about how music, reputation, and real-life events can all collide. The city has gone through a lot connected to this long-running tension. Multiple lives lost, ongoing division, and a situation that has stretched across years. It has affected not just individuals, but the wider culture around them. Memphis has felt split for a long time, with different sides holding strong positions. And it is not just about conflict. It shows up in the music, in affiliations, and even in how artists are perceived. For example, when Glorilla signed with CMG, people quickly brought up older posts showing her support for Young Dolph from earlier years. Even moments like that get pulled into the conversation, showing just how deep everything runs. The backlash came fast. Fans immediately started calling her a sellout, saying she switched sides. That reaction shows just how deep everything runs in Memphis. In that city, even signing to a label can turn into a debate about loyalty. People watch every move, and they are quick to question where someone stands. And when it comes to the legal side, there still is not a clear sense of closure. Justin Johnson received a life sentence, but other parts of the case remain unresolved. Hernandez Govan was acquitted, and Cornelius Smith, who admitted involvement, still has charges pending with no confirmed trial date. At the same time, Big Jook's case remains open, with no suspects officially identified. So many questions are still out there, and answers have been limited. There were also claims made during the situation suggesting possible connections and support behind the scenes, though those kinds of statements have not been proven in court. Still, when things like that get mentioned, people start reading into what it could mean. When Key Glock made that statement about Yo Gotti, it felt symbolic, like a shift in energy, a younger voice stepping up and saying things are changing. From that perspective, it represents more than just one moment. It reflects a new phase where PRE is showing it can continue forward while honoring Dolph's legacy. And in Memphis, loyalty is not just something people talk about. It is something that shapes decisions, alliances, and reputations every day. So now the big question is what happens next? Does Gotti eventually respond and try to reassert his place in the city? Or does he stay focused on the larger business side and move without addressing any of it? Either way, the landscape has clearly shifted, and people are watching closely to see what comes next. Right now, it feels like Key Glock has already made his stance clear. And when you really sit and think about this whole situation, it hits different. Back in 2014, Young Dolph made one decision. He said no to Yo Gotti, just one move. But that single choice set off a chain reaction that kept building over the years. From diss tracks to serious incidents, to court cases, to outcomes that left people with more questions than answers. And now, a whole shift in the balance of Memphis hip-hop. One decision over a decade of consequences, and the story still is not finished. That is what makes this so intense. So now the conversation turns to what comes next. Was Key Glock right for drawing that line and standing on it so publicly? Can Yo Gotti ever return to Memphis with the same presence he once had? And the biggest question, when does this cycle finally stop? Because at this point, it feels like the new era of Memphis rap is being shaped by more than just music. It is being shaped by who managed to push through everything and keep going, no matter what came their way. And that part right there, it does not sit right with a lot of people. That was never what hip-hop was supposed to represent. But at the same time, what Key Glock is doing right now is hard to ignore. He took one of the most painful moments of his life, the loss of his cousin, his mentor, and turned that pain into drive, into focus, into something that keeps pushing him forward every single day. He is carrying Paper Route Empire on his back and making sure that legacy stays alive. And at the same time, he is proving that staying independent still means something, that you can stand on your values, stay loyal, and still reach success without switching sides. In a city that has seen so much loss, that kind of message hits deep. It stands for something bigger than music. Yo Gotti may have the business side locked in, the money, the partnerships, the industry power. But Key Glock brings a different kind of weight. The connection, the loyalty, the support from the ground level. That is something you cannot just buy. Now it is your turn to speak on it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Who do you think really holds Memphis right now? And if this story hit you the same way, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and stay tapped in. More real breakdowns coming. No filters, just straight insight.